To know your body is to be able to advocate for it.
The importance of actually doing your research.
Yeah.
What is it that you are consuming? What is it that you are putting on your body?
We can pay attention to our body in such a sexualized way because that's how society treats us. But our bodies aren't just sexual objects. They are a functional system.
How do women build up the confidence to push for and advocate for themselves when they are going through really serious or what feels like quite tangible physical changes to their body?
Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Renee, and we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
We are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters around the world.
And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about women's health, your wellness, advocating for yourself and your relationship with your body.
Body, yaddy, yaddy.
Body, yaddy, yaddy, but healthy. Not scanty. Yes, off the back of the incredible episode that we did with Madame Leanne.
Ooh,
so excited to have her on the podcast.
Wow.
And it was just so illuminating.
Yeah.
She is such a force of positive change as well, especially in the area of women's health.
Yes.
It's something that's been really, really important to both myself and Courtney, and to actually have her talking about her experience so candidly,
what a star.
but also the work that she does to ensure that women actually get the checks that they need when it comes to their body. Leanne, we love you.
We really, really
Big
do.
fan girls.
This is such important work. Black Women Rising.
Hello.
Definitely check it out. But what a great time.
What a great time.
Yeah.
So,
but what a sad story. Sorry.
oh yeah,
What a sad
No,
story.
extremely sad.
So
Story.
yeah, it definitely highlighted a few things which we can unpack today.
Exciting more. But before we get into all of that, do we have any housekeeping?
We do. We're recording this in advance. You already know the style of this podcast.
They call it efficiency.
They called it a system.
Mm-hmm.
But last week we released the To My Sisters Live in London tickets. If there are tickets left.
That's if there is.
If there are tickets left, grab yours. Grab one for yourself, one for a friend, bring a sister, bring a group of girls to come and experience a live podcast show from us with some special guests. Cough, cough. On the 9th of November in Shoreditch. Okay, girls, we are in the east side. We're in the east side last time.
Well, damn, we gotta diversify.
We actually stay because Dalston, Hackney, and now Shoreditch.
So
we just
guys,
stay in the east side.
I mean, that's where the venues are, right, guys? Honestly,
it's true. Maybe next year we do Clapham. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
A little
That'd
south
be cool.
something. But yeah, anyways, come and chill with us on the 9th of November. We are doing a live podcast show. If you're in London, if you're about, bring a friend.
Come on
grab
now.
a ticket if there are some left. The link is in the description as well as in the show notes.
Absolutely.
Any other
housekeeping announcements? I think that is the main shebang.
Yeah.
As ever, if you haven't gotten a copy of the To My Sisters book,
Oh,
what are you doing?
what are you up to?
Get up, arise and shine, and get your book immediately.
Yeah.
Especially before the TMS live show. Like, come on,
Yeah.
guys. Like, there may be some
Or maybe you want to get it at the live show. We can
opportunities.
sign it. We
Yeah.
can sign it for
There
you.
may be some opportunities to get a signed copy
if you're in London.
that may or may not be worth $5, but God forbid, our signatures are going to be worth millions of pounds one day by God's grace.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Ideally, when we are still alive.
It's actually so true. But yeah, grab a copy.
You know them artists where the price of whatever they've created
Skyrockets
when they die.
That's how you have to question if it's your village people that killed you.
Oh.
Because it's them that's now enjoying
And they'll be waiting for you to go, talking about, oh yeah, I was like Leonardo da Vinci's like great grand something twice removed. Like, God forbid any of you twice removed cousins that are listening to this. Send no hitmans on our lives, please. Sorry, I've been watching Queen of the South recently, so I'm like,
okay.
oh my
How's that
God,
going?
there are hitmen
Okay.
and hit women.
Is Queen of the South based in South Africa?
No, it's based in Mexico
Oh, okay.
and Dallas.
Okay.
Across the two borders. Love it.
Love.
Anyways, aside from the tangents, get your books or wait to get your books.
We'll see.
And I guess for the international sisters, we haven't forgotten about you.
No.
That's all we're going to say for now. We have not forgotten about you. Oh, another housekeeping. If there's space, we're going to Ghana.
We are going to Ghana. Sign up to the international trip. It's really that simple, guys. We've been doing it for 3 years now. If you want to come with us, travel, adventure, make friends, come with us on our international trip. It's simple.
It's really like
It's very simple.
ABC, 4 + 4 = 8, and you could be eating with us in Ghana.
It's an experience.
And make friends, because we actually, guys, we're going to get some people to actually testify of this. We're not joking.
No, we're not
Genuinely.
lying.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? We actually have people that have come on our experiences and are still friends to this day.
Absolutely. So, come along.
Anywho,
Yeah.
segueing into the ding, ding, ding.
Dilemma.
Now, this is a mildly lengthy one.
Okay.
But sisters, just a reminder, when you do send in your dilemmas, just to make it easy for us, we love you. Yeah. Just 150 characters.
That's so small.
I know.
Words. You mean words. 150 characters is a tweet. Like that's very small. Yeah.
You know what? You're actually completely right. We'll allow you to do 150 words. Yeah. Okay. You can push it to 200, but anything over
this
200.
Is what you're doing to yourself.
150.
There you go.
If
Boundaries.
you put it in the word counter box, www.wordcounter.com. If it's even 151. Anywho.
Yeah.
Hello, my beautiful sisters.
Hello, sweets.
I recently celebrated my 27th birthday, and I'm beginning to feel like I'm still not where I thought I'd be in life. Ever since I graduated from college 4 years ago, at the height of the pandemic, may I add, I've been wanting to move out of my parents' house and finally start living independently. Over the years, I've sought numerous ways to escape the control of my parents by taking the first job offer that came my way, that I eventually grew to hate, rushing into a serious relationship with the intention of marriage to the first dude that made me feel seen, which ended in heartbreak, all the way up until now, where I'm seeking to move to another city to continue my architectural apprenticeship. The main issue here is that my parents are very controlling and dictate almost everything in my life. The only area they won't interfere with is the work I'm doing, which is outside of my profession, but gives me higher income than working in architecture.
Okay.
Whenever I try to express my feelings on the matter and my goals for the future, I get hit with the, you're supposed to take care of us because we took care of you.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Or stop being selfish, you could be struggling like everyone else lectures. Or worse, they make it seem like it's God's will for me to live with them like this for the rest of my life, although deep in my soul, I feel like the Most High has called me to other pursuits. While these are semi-valid arguments, I'm finding it hard to feel excited for this year and just my future in general, because I have to wait for permission from my parents to pursue my goals and aspirations, or even hobbies and the like. I know that they want me to succeed in life, but it seems like it's only on their terms. Talking and reasoning with them leads me nowhere because they'll tell me to just go if I want to. But then when I get ready to go or start making arrangements, they come up with every excuse in the book to stop me in my tracks. I have no idea what I should do. If I get up and leave, I become the bad apple, the disobedient daughter that my younger siblings shouldn't be like, the one who ruins the family structure. If I stay longer than I need to, I'll resent myself for not taking the leap of faith and constantly fearing my parents. There's a lot I'm leaving out because I don't want this longer than it already is, but I hope it makes some sort of sense. I'd be grateful for any advice you might have, or even just a simple prayer would mean the world to me.
Oh, girl, I hear this. Yeah. This is actually a really tough one. And I'm sure a lot of sisters listening can actually relate, because when you have parents who feel somewhat entitled to your future, your time, your resources, and just having you around, it can be really tough to find freedom from that. And so this is not a light situation at all. And it is very tough because, like you said, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So really sorry that you're experiencing this. And we do pray for you that the Lord would give you wisdom, and that you would actually build up the boldness and the confidence also to walk in whatever direction he leads you in. I think this can kind of go loads of different ways. I think sometimes with our parents, as challenging as it can be to be in the same environment as them, there is major benefit to living at home. I don't know what your home setup kind of is, but I think if the season that you're in now can accommodate being around them, being in the same space as them, you can let peace be peace and just stay around. However, if your innate desire is actually, I really want some kind of independence, I want some freedom, I want to, just explore what life out there is like, I don't think you should be afraid of your parents to the extent that you let them hold you back from the future that you really want. I think sometimes when you're in this kind of position, especially at the age of 27, it's very easy to kind of think, I'll wait to get married to experience freedom outside of my home or outside of my parents' home or my parents' unit. But I don't think you should hold yourself to that. If that's going through your mind, like, I'll just wait till I get married, or I'll just wait till I find the one. Like, I know you mentioned that dating experience and it ending negatively. You don't need to wait till you find your husband and can move to your husband's house, as our African parents like to say, before you flee the nest of your parents' home. You can actually experience life as a independent woman, but not necessarily be estranged from your family. So I think it's worth taking a sit down with your parents and being like, I want to know how I can support you guys. But I feel like financially and mentally, I'm ready to go out into the world and experience it for myself. And I would really appreciate you guys' support. I personally have not experienced what it's like to have a family that like holds you back too much. And I don't know many people in my life who have either. So I can't give advice from experience. So I definitely say, sisters, if you can come to the YouTube channel and chime in the comments, this would actually be really appreciated, because I know it's a common experience for a lot of people, but I just haven't experienced it. So I do think it's worth having that conversation and laying those, not necessarily boundaries, but those desires out to your parents and kind of seeing what their reaction will be. Again, but I personally would say, if your desire really is to move out, I pray that God gives you wisdom, but I would do it. I would really just do it. Like, if you can afford it and if that's what you want to experience, even if it's like flat sharing with someone, figuring out those logistics, but just experiencing being out in the world without being under your parents' control, I would definitely say do it. I think our parents can really struggle with that idea of letting go of control, and I don't think you should stand in that whole, oh, but we had to do it, you have to do it, or things could be much worse. Okay, but they're not, and I want them to be better. And so I don't think you should allow that like generational mindset hold you back, because you will resent it. You definitely will resent allowing people to hold you back from the dreams and the aspirations you had innately, which you just suppressed because of pleasing other people. And our parents are important. They are authority figures over us. They have brought us this far. However, they even have to recognize at some point, my child is not a baby. They are my child, but they are not a child. And so I need to treat them like an adult. And sometimes you have to enforce the distance, even if it's just in literal, like physical distance, before they understand that. And sometimes parents still violate it, but at least, you know, they've got a home that they can go to. So yeah, sisters, chime in what your experience kind of is in navigating it. But for you, sis, I would definitely say, figure out what's important to you and then really pray for the boldness to be able to pursue it. What do you think?
No, I love that. Completely agree. I think especially at the age that you're at, you are still very young. I think sometimes we can, especially when we are thinking about like where we should be in society or some of the plans that we may have for ourselves at a particular age, it's so tempting and easy for us to kind of be like, oh, we're not where we want to be and we're lagging behind. And then how do I get from A to B? You still have so much time and so much life in you yet to be able to do and pursue those things. But sometimes in order to do them, you have to take risks.
You have to.
And if it is financially expedient for you to live outside, generally, my advice is always live outside. I think it's actually important for you to have some semblance of independence or some semblance of what it's like to live by yourself and outside of the governance or the control of your parents, if you can, just because that experience in of itself is so grounding and it's so important in solidifying the confidence that you need to take risks elsewhere, right? Like paying your own bills, being your own person, living your own life. And it's great that you're now kind of pursuing that in a career space, but it does seem that as it pertains to your home situation, if you can, especially because the home is just such a pivotal part of our sense of being, our sense of safety, our sense of confidence. If you can move out, as Courtney was mentioning, whether it be a flat share situation, whether it be you living by yourself, I would definitely recommend it. And I think sometimes it's less so about contending with the resistance, but more so about pulling through. So you mentioned in your dilemma that, you know, there was always something that came up on your parents' side about, you know, wanting to move out. I remember when I was first in the process of moving out, I love my mom, but she was in denial for the whole hey, this lady was in denial for the whole 3 months. I was just like, Mom, I'm going to be moving out at the end of this quarter. And she was like, yeah, that's really cute. I'm sure you're not. Up until the actual day the moving van came, and she was like, Renee, where are you going?
Yeah. Wow.
So don't think that because there's resistance that you're taking the wrong decision.
Yeah.
I think resistance is often an indicator of pursuing something that's uncomfortable, but not wrong. So I think even in terms of like your fear of being the bad sheep, you've kind of got to weigh up what is it that you want to prioritize more, being the bad sheep in the short term and taking the risk, or continuing to resent your parents for the longer period because it feels like they're actually preventing you from making your own decisions as an adult. And from the sounds of it, I ain't gonna lie, sis, it's sounding like one of over the other. And it's quite clear that, especially when you are in this time in your adulthood where you want to take risks and you want to move forward with your life, sometimes it means that you're going to have to look like the bad guy for a season to be able to pursue a lifetime of happiness or a lifetime of success in the grand scheme of things. So I would definitely encourage you. Yes, you might look bad in some instances, but in the long term, it's really about living a life that is, you know, authentic to yourself and doing it as respectfully as possible as well. I think the approach is very important. As much as they will disagree, as much as they may be annoying, as much as they may try and, I guess, control you, I think you standing firm, but you standing firm respectfully will, I think, make sure that you're maintaining those relationships.
1,000%.
And oftentimes distance makes the heart grow fonder. There has never been a person that has moved out of their parents' house that I've come across that's been like, oh, me and my parents' relationship has become so strained. If anything, sometimes, and most of the times, when your parents can see that you can stand on your own 2 legs and provide for yourself and look after yourself, then a lot of parents are kind of like, oh, okay, maybe I did raise you right. So I think even you clocking that this is coming from a place of love from your parents, I think addressing the concerns that they may have as well around like, can you take care of yourself? Will you be able to be independent? Like, will you be able to take care of yourself and then still be some kind of contributor or at least some kind of force within our family dynamic? I think going for those and standing firm when you do make a decision will do more in sending the message to your parents this time that you are actually standing on business and you are moving on with your life. But sis, I think sometimes these kind of experiences can make us feel almost infantilized. Like, oh, I can't move because my parents are controlling me. And it's like, sis, especially when you get older, don't enable your parents into that kind of position. I think sometimes we get to a place in our lives where we have to show, you will always be the child of your parents, but you won't always be a child. And I think embracing adulthood, embracing that it will make you uncomfortable, embracing that you may be the bad sheep of the family occasionally. Trust me, like, I'm sure you've experienced it. I've experienced that times where we just don't get on with our parents because we've decided to do something that we believe is authentic to us for the short term. I think will help you a lot more in the long term and also give you the confidence to make decisions in other places as well. So for example, your romantic relationships as well, the confidence that comes from being independent, knowing what you want, pursuing what you believe is good for you will transfer into all of those other areas, especially when you're interacting with guys. It's like, I know what I want. I'm a girl that goes for what she wants and I'll go for what I want in this area. But yeah, I think echoing Courtney, we really pray for wisdom in this season and we also pray for favor. These kind of situations are so tough to navigate, especially when it comes to family, because more times than not, we love our family and our family want the best for us. And when we don't see eye to eye, that can be the cause of such stress. So we're really praying for wisdom. We're really praying for favor. And we're also praying for peace. But yeah, sisters, please chime in. We would love to hear what you have to say. For those of you that have actually been there as well, in the hot seat, the black sheep of the family,
talk to us about it.
We want to hear the stories. We want to hear the advice. We want to hear what happened in the long term. Were you able to mend any kind of familial relationships or did you remain estranged? Was it good or bad?
Tell us, girl. I did want to add one thing as well. I know your parents said that whole like, you'll kind of be a bad example to your siblings. And I think that's something that really gets held over our heads sometimes, especially as daughters, especially when you're more on the elder side, like eldest daughter or one of the elder siblings. I think That's a lie. I think when we make radical decisions, which don't disrespect our parents, but really advocate for us, our siblings get to learn that it is possible, right? And we aren't making them, because if you do allow yourself to be controlled by your parents, you are setting that path up for your siblings as well.
Absolutely.
So I have noticed with myself, like, yes, when you are the forerunner, people are going to be like, oh, you're rebellious, you're disrespectful. But then sometimes when I look at my younger siblings, I'm like, you're only getting away with that because I broke through that wall for you. Like that's the only reason why you're getting away with this nonsense that you're doing.
Facts.
So I think it's also seeing that you can pave the way and an example of liberation for your siblings as well, because I'm sure what you're experiencing, you wouldn't actually want them to experience. So I think kind of reframe it. And again, the caveat here is as long as you're not doing something that's bad girl behavior, but like reframe it into thinking, no, I need to do something for me so I can prove to my siblings that they can do things for them when their time comes as well.
You're rebellious.
It's only rebellious when you're the first person.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's that saying? Like, the people that are like the geniuses of our time often looked crazy in the midst of the pursuit of their purpose. Yeah. So don't be afraid to look crazy.
There we go.
Anyhow, segueing into the meat and bones of the conversation.
Yes.
Women's health.
Women's health.
So for those of you that may be new, or for those of you that have not checked out last week's episode, in fact, it is necessary for you to listen to that episode, not just because it was a great episode, but there was just so much richness in information and experience from the incredible Leanne Perro. She is a change maker, a forerunner of our time, and at heart, a woman that has a beautiful story to tell and to share about her experience navigating the healthcare system, her experience with breast cancer, and just her experience of what her community relationships looked like as a result of such a just huge disruption to her life, essentially. And it was a very kind of poignant, moving episode. It was such a pleasure to have her on the podcast, because we actually had an opportunity to talk about women's bodies, right? Not just about like aesthetics and stuff like that, and chasing and just, you know, taking care of ourselves and whatnot, but the real challenges of healthcare concerns. Leanne had mentioned in her story, which really moved me, she was the kind of babe that was taking care of herself. She was drinking her water. She was, you know, going to the gym, and she had breast cancer. And the reality of, you can take all of the right steps to take care of yourself, but sometimes life gets in the way.
Absolutely.
And especially being a Black woman, where there are so many other kind of healthcare conditions that we're actually more susceptible to, the importance of being in tune with your body, the importance of taking care of your body by actually getting checked, the importance of just being really aware of some of the conditions that may be affecting your community. So I wanted to start off this conversation with just that, this whole idea of being in tune with your body. Miss Courtney, what are some of the lessons that you have learned about your body and what your body needs to be taken care of?
I think the first has been that my body's actually worth listening to. I think sometimes we can be so busy or so caught up in life and all the things that we're doing that we don't actually take time to just listen to what your body is actually telling you, whether that's from it's tired, it's feeling a bit run down, or there's a little bit of aches and pains or discomfort, or there are some bodily changes which are different from before. So I think sometimes, especially when you are working and in like a very capitalist society that demands a lot of you, it's easy to get caught up in productivity and not necessarily health, and making sure that you're actually functional. And so I would say one of the biggest things I've learned is pay attention to your body's changes. You may be reacting differently to food you are so used to eating, or your body may be telling you like, hey, we don't like that anymore, or like, we don't need that anymore. Stop it.
Even if you like it.
Even if you like it, or maybe you're feeling more tired than usual. Instead of taking it on as a mental challenge, take it on as a physical one. Like, you know, I'm a lot of times when I kind of face, especially as Black women, when you face like tiredness and fatigue and it's repetitive, a lot of times we can try and just coax ourselves into, you need to work harder, push through this unsettling bondage to resilience, when actually it could be your body telling you there's something wrong with the system. So I think it's realizing that as much as sometimes we are not listened to, we need to listen to ourselves.
So good. Come on,
you know,
now.
we really need to listen to our body, and it's okay to take some time out to do that, even if it's just the 5 minute in the shower, you know, doing your breast checks, looking down there, looking at your body, looking at your back. Like, is there any acne? Are there any moles? Are there any marks that weren't there before? Am I getting bruised easily? All these different things, which can be signs of something, but it takes you paying attention to your body and seeing your body as worthy of taking attention to, or paying attention to. I'll say the changes that I've noticed in my body in particular have been around like weight gain, weight fluctuation. So you guys are not ignorant of the fact that I have PCOS. And I noticed that when I was 18, 19. And it was a journey of, again, noticing my body's changes and being like, oh, my period was regular. Since I was like 11 and I got my period was regular. And then my period suddenly just stopped, and now it's back. It's completely different to when it was here before. So I think it's also taking track and note of these sorts of things. I feel like when I noticed, the GP was asking me questions around like, oh, so do you have like back acne? And I didn't know. I was like, no, I don't think so. And it was because at that age, like, it wasn't my concern to be looking at my body and you know, certain things like that, like certain questions they were asking me to try and diagnose me. I just didn't know because I wasn't very attuned with my body. And on top of that, the way I deal with sickness is I'll get through it. Like, I don't need medicine.
I'm telling you, this resilience is a curse.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't need medicine. If you looked at my doctor's notes pre 18 years old, I think I went to the GP 3 times.
Stop.
Yeah, no, like, it used to be a thing where my mum's GP would ask, is Courtney still around?
Stop.
Like, what? I haven't seen her. She's like, Courtney rarely gets sick. And if she does get sick, she just pushes through it. Like, it's completely fine. So even that, it was like, my relationship with the healthcare system, I wasn't used to frequenting it. And so then when they were asking me all these questions, I was like, babes, I live my life day by day.
I ain't got nothing for you. I'm
just trying to get through to tomorrow. I don't know what you're asking me. So things like that, just paying attention to your body. I think it's a part of adulthood and growing up as a woman. You know, it's your parent that keeps, you know, your medical records and knows, oh, you're allergic to this, or but at some point you need to know, like, you need to know for yourself in case anything happens, or just to get that regular check. And to know your body is to be able to advocate for it. If you don't know your body and what you need, and I'm not just talking about from a medical standpoint of being like, I think I have this, but even just being connected to the pain you may feel in some place and not just dismissing it, right? Like, oh, my back hurts. I'm not just going to take that as my back always hurts. Why does my back hurt? And if I don't at least acknowledge and take note of this pain, I can't advocate for myself. You know, so allowing yourself to advocate for your body by really getting in tune with any pain, any discomfort, any changes. But in terms of like changes I've noticed in my body as I've gotten older, I've been really paying attention to things like my digestive health, how my body reacts to certain foods, especially like sugar, especially processed foods. I notice a lot more significantly, and this I think is by virtue of age. If I don't prioritize whole foods, my body is in a frenzy and I can't explain it. Like, I'm just like, I'm so tired, I'm so lethargic, everything, I need to go to the toilet. And then you're not looking at your stool, let's just get TMI, you're not looking at what's in the toilet when you're done. And then when you look, you're like, ooh, why am I producing this?
And it smells real bad.
It's smelling terrible.
Oh my Lord.
And then you realize, when was the last time I ate broccoli? Or when was the last time I ate a green vegetable?
A green veg.
You know?
But it's all the fried
stuff. It's all the
fried
stuff.
Oils.
It's the chemicals in the food. And I think as women as well, once you get to a certain age, if you are considering like your reproductive health as well, you pay attention to all of these things. Like, oh, my period is really painful, or my back really hurts when my period is coming. How is my body reacting to sugar? All of these things that are like hidden in foods and hidden in drinks, and all of these things affect you. So I'm noticing my body is changing a lot to what I eat, which to me feels like it's trying to rob me of enjoyment. I'm just going to put that out there.
Don't even get me started, because as somebody that adores ice cream,
a good old ice cream,
finding out that I am in fact lactose intolerant is literally like, Heartbreaking.
Yeah,
Mike.
exactly.
Heartbreaking.
Exactly. But yeah, I've rambled on, but
No,
I think
you
I've just noticed with my body that the most important thing is to be aware of the changes and not just allow them to happen.
Yeah.
Because you need to stay on top of it.
I love that. I love that. That really reminds me of like, as a kid, my mum had this massive like red book, like the medical books. And whenever there was something wrong with me, she'll pull out the red book. And I was like, I don't even know what is inside this book. And I looked inside and it was literally a log of like, oh, you know, she's had this vaccination or she has an intolerance to this or she shouldn't be eating this. And I'm like, wow, that's a good log to have.
Yeah.
Where is it right now?
Exactly.
It's really you know how like, I don't know, maybe it's just like ethnic or immigrant mums where they keep all of their important documentation in like a suitcase that's like under the bed or like
on top of the
wardrobe. Don't rob my house, guys. Not that information is going to serve you in any ways, but don't rob my family home.
Yeah.
But this importance of gathering information about yourself and actually making a log has been something that I've been really intentional about, especially this year.
Yeah.
And I love what you were saying about noticing those changes, because we often get caught by surprise when these things happen, right? And then we move forward with life, but then how will you be able to diagnose something or treat something later on if you don't have the receipts from way back when, right? And part of advocating for yourself comes from knowing yourself. And I think we often think of knowing ourselves as a mental pursuit or an emotional pursuit, but there's also a physical pursuit. And I think that sometimes can even be more important, because it really shows, okay, what is my body reacting to?
Yeah.
What is good for me? What is helping me become a better person? What foods should I actually be avoiding for better or for worse? It's very unfortunate. And it's not necessarily avoid, but sometimes you want to limit, because it's not good for you to be eating these kind of things,
in
guys.
excess.
And I think especially as women, where sometimes the focus of our body and the way that we inhabit our bodies is so linked to aesthetics and being consumed, that we often don't think about our bodies from the point of objective health and functionality. Like, how am I functioning? How do I feel in my body? What is helping me to feel better as opposed to simply looking better? And even in terms of the treatments, or even in terms of the things that we buy for our body, how often do we actually purchase things that make us feel good without it being attached to us looking good too, right? Like when we think about skincare, for example, we are thinking about skin's health, but we're often thinking about, how does my skin appear glossy or pretty or shiny? The amount of anti-aging propaganda that is sold to women, and it's like, okay, being the fountain of youth, but also what about your skin's actual health? And thinking about, okay, how can I make sure that I'm right within and that I'm actually functioning well before focusing on the aesthetics?
I think that's such a good point. I think that's such. Sorry, I was going to add something, because it brought something to my mind that I saw yesterday, and I think we need to be careful of leading our priorities with the aesthetic, like making the aesthetic our highest priority and then health secondary. Absolutely. Because I saw something about Biab, like Builder Gel, and how it's like being a lot of the products are being recalled.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they're like linked to cancerous properties. And I remember obviously when the trend of Biab, which is like a nail, like an alternative to acrylic nails, when they were being like introduced, and all the girls were like, oh, do Biab, it's healthier for you, it's healthier for you, it's healthier for you. But like, is it really? And I think a lot of these beauty trends come with the markup. They come with, again, the trend, the wave of that content, and it being, I'm a Biab girly. And it's like, okay, cool. As much as this looks cute, and maybe it's healthy for your nails, we needed to look more into the health for your overall body. And I think really having a scientific understanding of whatever you put on your body, on your skin is your biggest organ. Like, it is your biggest organ. And whatever you put on your skin will seep into your blood. Like, it will actually enter into your system. So the things that we do externally do impact our internal health. And I think the more we become mindful of that, especially as Black women who are peddled so many beauty products, the healthier and the safer we will be. And it's not just our responsibility, it's also the responsibility of the corporations. Because a lot of, when we look at, you know, articles around relaxers, articles around certain hair care products which are as common as conditioner,
even hair extensions. Hair extensions,
chemical coatings on hair extensions.
The fact that now we are out here having to coat our braiding hair with apple cider vinegar just to get rid of,
to clean it,
it's ridiculous. But that also brings me to a point of the importance of actually doing your research.
Yeah.
What is it that you are consuming? What is it that you are putting on your body? What are you introducing as part of your systems or as part of your routines that actually could be causing you a whole bunch of terror and a whole bunch of headache later down the line.
Yeah.
And I hate to be that person that's like anal about this, because this is literally my background. I love research and I love research around women's health, but a lot of products just do not pass like the test when it comes to the clinical participants. It doesn't pass the test in terms of longevity. Like, are we seeing the long-term effects of using this particular product? If you don't have any kind of reference point beyond a TikTok video, babe, you should not be using this just yet. You really shouldn't be using this just yet. And I think it is annoying, but it's necessary, especially for women, for us to go this extra mile, especially because we are inhabiting spaces and places that are not built inherently for us. They're often built on people that are interested in grabbing our cash. They are often control participants that are based, the studies are predominantly based on men, or they're predominantly based on communities that just don't reflect the sheer diversity of women's experiences. And it's so harmful for us to think that we can adopt products that are made with us in mind, but not even made with us in mind, more
with
so
us
made
as the target.
Exactly, made with us as the target, and made with our checkbooks in mind, but not our bodies in mind. And I think it's important for us as women to distinguish between the two and actually become bougie when it comes to what we're putting in our bodies, what we're eating, where we can, of course, because it is a privilege, right? To be able to have access to healthier foods, to have access to certain things that we put in our body on our skin, but where we can, actually being well read enough or bothered enough to actually do that work of, is this actually good for me? Is this actually helping me to become better? Or is this preserving me as a human being? And then another lesson that I feel like I've learned this year in particular is adopting a softer approach to my body. I think definitely what you were saying really resonates in that, especially for us as Black women, we are almost coached into being resilient. We are almost coached into pushing through. We are coached into being the rock. My body's not a rock. My body's more of a pillow. It really is. It's more of a pillow. And this is not to promote female fragility, but more so acknowledging that I have weaknesses, that I am soft, that I am expendable. You know, I'm a mortal, I can die. And having a softer approach to my aches, my pains, the things that I'm going through, having a softer approach to discipline. There was one thing that really changed my life like fairly recently, and it was the approach to discipline. And the phrase went along the lines of, discipline without love is abuse. And it occurred to me it really occurred to me how many of us are disciplining ourselves from a place of abuse and not a place of love. Because ultimately, discipline is there to make us better because we care about ourselves. But could I truly say that I'm disciplining myself and trying to be that productive girly out of a place of love and adoration for myself? Or was it a necessity for me to be able to carry out functions, for me to show up for things and for people, and it wasn't necessarily coming from a healthy place? So constantly evaluating, constantly challenging myself. Okay, am I disciplining myself right now? Am I living up to the standards and the benchmarks that I've placed for myself out of a place of love, or more so out of a place of pseudo responsibility, or this idea that I have to be this caricature of whatever the Black woman is supposed to be in these spaces? And that's actually enabled me to be so soft with myself. And we've spoken about this in some of our previous episodes, but dealing with the voice of the inner critic, especially when it comes to my body, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I judge myself so harshly, and it takes a lot of rewiring and active work to actually push against the inner critic, especially when that inner critic has existed for so long and in so many different areas. So actually treating myself in the third person sometimes. So almost imagining if a friend was to come to me with some of the aches and pains or the issues that I was going through, how would I coach them versus how I would coach myself? And then picking the former rather than the latter, because I'm now treating myself as my friend. So I think one of the biggest lessons around my body that I have learned this year is treating myself like my friend, and actually advocating for my friend, loving my friend, checking on my friend, which ostensibly means that I'm extending that love to myself.
Absolutely. Love that.
But I loved what you were saying around the checks, right? The checks and being aware of some of the changes that we're going through as women. And I think one thing that really stuck out for me in the episode with Leanne is she was around quite a few people that have either gone through breast cancer or were used to being in healthcare systems which warranted checking yourself, right? Yeah. And I think sometimes it can be environmental, it can be social, but we as women sometimes just don't check on ourselves as much, especially when it comes to our body, but then also by extension, our emotional health as well. So what are some of the checks that you do to ensure that you are either in optimum health or at least to see if there's something wrong?
I think it's the regular checkups versus waiting for something to go wrong before you do something. So for me personally, there are like standing appointments with the optician, there's the dentist, there like all these things where I'm like, okay, these things are important to me. My eye health, you guys know I wear glasses, my glasses are currently broken, so it's like, let me actually go and make sure that my optician appointments are in there. Let me keep a log of my dentist appointments, my teeth cleaning. If something does go wrong, who are my main points of contact to sort that out? Where is my GP? If I need my GP, can I get an appointment? Do I want to go private? Asking myself these questions is also important to me. So I don't really do like regular checkups, but whenever I do need an appointment, I know where I can get one, if that makes sense. The next thing is regularly check my breasts as well for any lumps, bumps, changes, tenderness as well. Around my period, my breasts get extremely tender, like really, really painful. So trying to just make sure that that is mainly PMS related symptoms and not something bigger. So looking at my like skin texture around my breasts, and definitely check out the Copperfield website for just information and guidance on how to do a self breast examination on yourself, because I do those very regularly, and I have done actually since sixth form when I first like became aware of it, and I was like, oh, this is actually really, really important. I also just, it's very basic, but before I shower, I will look at my body, like, and this is a daily situation, like every day.
Just naked, look at yourself.
Just look at myself and get comfortable looking at yourself as well. I think no matter what your body shape, your body size, don't allow society to make you so ashamed of your body that you don't give your body, like I said, the attention it actually needs to notice if something is wrong. So looking in the mirror and looking for those things, moles, bruises, marks, like anything, discoloration, anything that's like, this wasn't here before, or this is getting worse, or, you know, hyperpigmentation, or, okay, I'm getting a lot more like maybe like cystic spots around my body. Where is this coming from? Is there some kind of inflammation? Like really just looking at your body will solve a lot of problems. Looking, feeling, ingrown hairs on a more even aesthetic level. It's like, what is actually going on with my body? Am I getting, you know, skin tags, which is something that I've been noticing a bit recently. Is it hereditary? Is it because of sun exposure? Like, what is going on? Also, I pay attention to how my body is reacting to my skincare, body and face.
Yes, hello.
So really thinking, if I've changed my skincare, if I've changed the product, am I getting more spots? What sort of spots are they as well? Where are they appearing? Because it could be hormonal, or it could actually be a reaction to some kind of product. So I am a beauty girly through and through. I love watching content, reading content about beauty, but also looking at how that is relevant to me and what's going on in my present life. So I really do pay attention to how my body is reacting to my like skincare and body care. The next thing that I would say is looking at the coochie, our sister down there. How is she smelling? What is she producing? How is she feeling? What's the hair situation saying? Like, and not from all feminine hygiene, aesthetic, get ready with me for my D appointment. No, like, girl, what is your vaginal health actually on?
Every day. Do you know what? And I've said this before. The girls are so concerned about, oh, you know, making the coochie look nice. For this man, he just about changed his boxes. He just about did.
But I think it's less so about like the does it smell good, and more like, what is my vaginal health saying? Like my pH. A lot of girls get thrush and they don't even know. I remember the first time I got thrush, I didn't know that's what was happening to me, but I was so itchy, and I went to my mom and she was like, you've got thrush, like you should have told me earlier. And I was like, girl, I don't know.
I didn't even know what this is.
All I know is I want to scratch the hell out of my cooch.
Yeah.
And so even having conversations like that as well with women and feeling free to do it. But yeah, just check your vagina, man. Like, it's actually not embarrassing, it's not shameful, and also it's not just a sexual organ, it's a part of your body. And I think we can pay attention to our body in such a sexualized way because that's how society treats us. But our bodies aren't just sexual objects, they are a functional system. And so paying attention to the different things in your body which indicate whether this system is working or whether it needs a bit of a diagnostic and a little bit of attention and care. And so if you need to go and talk to your pharmacist and just describe, listen, I've been smelling a smell or I've been feeling away, and then having them talk to you about what you need to do. But that won't happen if you're not doing the regular checks. And then the last thing is, again, to do it down there, I look at my poo. I've actually been so shocked. No,
the way that you said that.
Yeah, I've been so shocked at how many people do their business and they don't turn back to look at what's happening in the toilet. Are you guys crazy?
They ran out. No, do you know how funny
Are you afraid?
It's a
I gotta go. You know, and I think again with women and the culture that surrounds us, everything needs to be prim and proper, that we don't actually like to engage with the things that can save our lives.
Have you seen that trend that's like, girls don't poo?
Girl, you get what I mean? Like, get out of here. Like, listen, if I'm ever around you and I'm like, oh, I need to go to the toilet, you know I'm going to be gone for a good 10 minutes because I'm there. I'm enjoying the experience. I'm enjoying the retreat from the outside world.
Ooh, Lord,
secondly, I'm going to spend time, like, maybe this is TMI, but when I wipe, I will look at the tissue paper. I need to know. But if I'm bleeding, if my stool has changed color, if it's changed consistency, why am I gonna wait till something happens to my bowels?
It's the way that you said it. I look at the tissue.
Yeah, I look at the tissue. Like, what's going on? What's going on here today?
What's going on down there?
Yeah, and also it's a great indication as to whether I've eaten something my body doesn't like. Facts. If you don't look at what your body is ejecting, you don't know what it's rejecting. Like, you actually need to look at what's in the toilet. I think that's a whole PSA and a campaign. Girls, do not be scared of the poo. We actually need liberation when it comes to that, because it will really tell you certain things about your bowels, about your digestive system, even the smell in the air, just being like, oh, this is a bit funkier than usual. Like, what is it?
No, listen, genuinely, there are certain foods, guys, if your poo smells, there's certain foods that you need to be avoiding. The ones that are loaded with sulfur, baby.
But sometimes they can be good for you though.
They are, but limit.
Yeah,
you know?
I get what you're saying. But it's just paying attention to stuff like that. Like, I think it's important to look at what your body is producing, whether it be through your skin, through your stool, through your discharge, through sweat, even whatever it is. Just really paying attention to what's my body up to. What is it doing? Has there been some kind of change? And that happens with your daily checks. And the reason why I mentioned the whole looking back at the toilet thing, is because it's so easy. Like, it's not something you have to book in. It's not something you have to go and see a professional for. It's literally just turning back before you flush and being like, what's going on down here? And that's it. Right? Or looking at the tissue paper. For some people, that makes you uncomfortable. I don't know why.
But you know what? Sometimes you've done something quite dastardly and you have to run. Like, sorry, since we entered into the TMI territory, but there are some bowel movements that you do. You don't need to look back. You know what you've done there. It's jail time worthy. So funny. And you have to go.
I hear that. But you know me, like, I don't do shame. Like, I don't do shame. And I don't shame myself. Like, if I gotta go and I've gone and it's crazy, I'm gonna be like, damn, girl, what is going on with your stomach?
Oh, God. But you know what? I also think that it's a culture, because I feel like we've also grown up in families whereby, like, if you did a number two, these things are fine. We've grown up around like women, for example, that are happy being naked, and like, it's not like a sexualized thing.
They'll fart in front of you.
They'll even wait sometimes for you to be around to do that kind of behavior, which I think is abhorrent, by the way. You know who I'm talking to. But we've also grown up in a culture where, like, that has been enabled. So it's true. Like, you know, if you do a number two, I'll be like, oh, girl, what happened? And like vice versa. Like, oh, what you going through there? You're putting something through it.
I think that's actually very true. Like, I grew up in an environment where you'll walk into the kitchen and someone's at the toilet, the whole door is open.
Just open.
Just and they're scrolling on their phone and it's just, what do you want? I'm going to the bathroom. So I think I've never felt awkwardness around that, around the female body. Like, I have so many nurses in my family as well. So there's just been a lot of like freedom, but I guess not everybody does experience that. But I think it comes from, I guess, releasing the shame or this embarrassment or just the shyness around the female body, because it's your body. Like, if you can't get comfortable seeing your body naked or seeing what your body produces or smelling certain things, like, how will you ever know? Like, these are the indicators that our body gives us freely.
Facts.
Without us having to go to, you know, a GP appointment.
Facts.
So I just think it's important. But then even with that though, book your GP appointments.
100%.
Like, actually go to the doctor.
Regular.
Don't just, I've done my self checks and I think everything's fine. Baby, you have not got a medical degree.
Yeah.
Just every 6 months, even once a year, just go and get a little, get them to touch your boobs, get them to look at certain things, get that smear, get that smear. Yeah, like, just do the things you need to. And I think book those things into your calendar. It does feel like it can be overwhelming, but when you spread it out across 12 months, you should be okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. We'll even send a little checklist, the next mailing list for the girlies that need to know what checkups and whatnot. But no, I love that. I think it's really important for us as women to establish what our baseline is, right? Like, so what is my body at regular? Yeah. Right? Like, when do I poo? Like, for me, TMI, but like, if I haven't pooed in the morning, crazy something might be up. I might be crazy. People leave their homes in the morning, and you have not. Some people be like, "Oh, I only like poo like 2 times a week."
Yeah.
But you was backed up.
Yeah, exactly.
You was backed up.
Exactly.
Heavy on the carbs, lower that. Drink some more water.
Just up the fiber, man.
Up the fiber. 25 grams per day. Please. But yeah, understanding what is regular for your body and also where you are falling behind of that baseline, right? So again, noticing what are the changes, what are some of the daily routines that your body is taking you through. Are you noticing excessive fatigue? And especially like trying to figure out your normal around your menstrual cycle as well has been such a game changer for me. So like me paying attention to the fact that, okay, I'm more fatigued around like the second half of my menstrual cycle. Girl, just a couple of days ago, I was falling asleep at 8-9 p.m. And I was like, oh, if I didn't know what my menstrual cycle was and I didn't have information around generally just the female menstrual cycle, I wouldn't know that that's actually, okay, a normal or a typical symptom, right? Or especially women that may be dealing with other hormonal or reproductive related issues like endometriosis or dysmenorrhea.
Okay, you were so close. You should have given up on yourself so early. You know, you were there.
It's all about persistence. But when you do have any kind of issues pertaining to your reproductive system, logging what is normal for you. What are you noticing at certain parts of your cycle that is dictating how you're feeling, how you're behaving, how you're moving, what your moods are. If you have one, I currently have like a cycle tracking app on my phone. It's Flow. I'm a little bit disappointed though because it's currently owned by a guy, but that's okay. It's fine. But tracking your cycle, for example, is a really good baseline indicator, right? It's like, okay, what is the average length of my cycles, for example? Is there any irregularities? What has my bleeding level been for, particular days? So I've recently switched over to the menstrual cup, and that has actually been such a game changer because A, sustainability, blah, blah, blah. B, it's actually been super, super easy. And C, I can track any kind of changes way easier from like cycle to cycle. So it's like, okay, cool. This works for me because I know at this particular time of my cycle, I'll be bleeding this much. And if I'm seeing that I'm bleeding way more, then maybe there's an issue there, or vice versa. Or if I'm late by a couple of days, then maybe I was in this particular cycle very, very stressed. Maybe I was eating foods that were more inflammatory as opposed to the opposite. So finding ways within your day-to-day, within your cycle, within your body that enable you to understand this is my baseline, and when there's any deviations or when there's any changes, then I can log them and see, okay, is there a cycle starting to form? Are there issues that are starting to crop up? Am I seeing any repeats in some of these changes? I think also trying to decrease the variables as much as possible. I think as women, sometimes because we are marketed so much, we often think that we need so much to maintain a certain baseline of health. And actually, the simpler, the better for the most part. So when it comes to the skincare, the beauty regimes, oftentimes less is actually more, unless you've actually gone to see a dermatologist, unless you've actually booked in that professional help and you're dealing with something excessive. I would hesitate before introducing new things immediately. And I would also stagger them as well. So if you are like a skincare girly, or if you are, I love all of the body lotions and oils and stuff like that, try to introduce these things one at a time. So if something does go wrong, you're like, okay, cool. It was this product that did this and created this issue that I have. But again, having that baseline and then treating the variables sequentially so you can see if an issue does crop up. Because child, there's been some times where I'm like, I'm going to use like 5 different new products. Boy, the way my skin said, Renee, not today. And the worst thing is I couldn't even diagnose and say it was this product, right? I decided to overload all of my skin on that same day. And boy, it set me back a while, but hey ho, we've moved forward and we've healed and whatnot. So introducing things and actually treating your body again with tenderness and kindness. How does it react to certain things? How is it feeling when you introduce this new variable? Is it helping? Are you giving it a probation period as well? Like giving your body time to acclimatize by actually giving probation periods to products that you are using is such a good plan and mode of attack, because boy, it allows you to see, is this causing me to variate from my baseline or from my optimum level of health? And that is so, so important, because later down the line, again, you don't want to cause any issues for yourself, but also you can target the issue as soon as it comes up because you've noticed it. Any other checks that are important? I think less so a check, but more so what we were talking about, right? In terms of doing it in community where you can. So if you do have close friends that are aware of like your health in general or are, you know, aware of what your baseline behavior is, sometimes it's actually worth having someone in close proximity to you to actually be like, sis, I noticed that your behavior is a bit off, or I noticed that there's something that's changed about you. Is everything okay? So having actually accountability or somebody that's aware of you at your best physical health is really, really helpful, because sometimes they can also notice things that you miss. And it's not like saying, oh sis, I see that you have like 5 pimples on your forehead. Is everything okay? But more so just checking in and being like, oh, I see that, for example, your mood has changed and it's stayed low for quite a long time. Like, is there anything I can support you with? Are you okay? Like, what's going on? And being intentional about building authentic community and relationships where you can hold each other accountable, but lift each other up when we are going through things physically as well, has been such a game changer.
Absolutely. I've definitely experienced the benefit of that. And I would say bring people in on that journey, like from Leanne's conversation last week, and even from my own personal experiences, when you are going through something which is a bit more severe, maybe you have been diagnosed with something and now it requires some kind of lifestyle change or treatment or just a medical journey, I would definitely say welcome people in on that journey. It's so tempting to do all of that in isolation. I don't want to burden people. Maybe you feel some shame, or maybe you're just so angry at the situation you just don't want to talk about it outside of the doctor's office, and it's completely fine to have that feeling towards it. But even if it's just one person, whether it's family or a friend, a colleague, maybe you don't want somebody who's so close to you, and just letting them know, got diagnosed with this, or currently I'm going for a check around this, maybe I'm feeling a little bit anxious, a little prayer, a little well wish, a little whatever would be really, really appreciated. And also so that somebody is mindful if something drastic does happen, right? So knowing that, oh, okay, I was diagnosed with this, if one day you collapse somewhere or whatever, there is somebody who is aware of, okay, this is what might be going on as well. So I know there can be a lot of, obviously, like individualism. It's all our individual responsibility to take care of our health, but it doesn't need to be, you know, covered in so much secrecy as well. Just allowing even one person to come in on that journey, whether it's a partner, a spouse, a friend, can help.
For sure.
Can really help.
And to round off the conversation,
yes, ma'am.
One thing that really struck me about Leanne's experience, but also the experience that many women have in the healthcare system, is that sometimes it can be really hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And advocating for yourself and even getting to a place where you can get a diagnosis, being taken seriously. And even from your experience of navigating the medical field as somebody that's been diagnosed with PCOS, it can be really tough when your pain is being dismissed by institutions. So it's not even just a socialization thing, but it's actually inherent within the institutions that we're navigating.
Yeah.
How do women build up the confidence to push for and advocate for themselves when they are going through really serious or what feels like quite tangible physical changes to their body?
Oh, I think one, realize it's your health on the line. Like, yes, the NHS is stressed.
Yep.
Yes, these delays can happen. Yes, there are so many testimonies of people having negative experiences, but when it comes down to your situation, it's your health on the line. So if you do not pipe up, if you do not make certain demands, if you do not advocate for yourself and really force your way through that system, no one's really gonna lose out apart from you. The second thing that I would say is, I know it's a very privileged thing, but if you can go private, do it. I would personally say, like, over maybe buying luxury items, any disposable income you have, if you can upgrade your life in a way that allows you to experience private healthcare, especially here in the UK, then do it. Even if it's more around the general things, or even if it's around the more specific things, invest in your health by doing some privatized stuff if you need it and if you want it, right? I know that, like, for a lot of people that's inaccessible, but I think if you do research into it, it may be more accessible than you think. And the second thing would be, I think sometimes with, or the third thing, sorry, I think sometimes with Black women, especially in the UK, a lot of us are scared to even approach the NHS with some of our health conditions because there have been the negative stories around how Black mothers, Black women, Black people are treated within that healthcare system, and just ethnic minorities in general, especially considering how disproportionately we are affected by certain health conditions. And so I think some people are even scared to even make that approach, to even be signed up onto a waiting list. You need to decide what you're going to do. You really need to make a decision about what you're going to do, because just because the journey ahead seems like an uphill walk, you will get nowhere if you just decide to just stay here, because that's too challenging and private healthcare is too inaccessible. So how are you going to get the help that you need? And I think a lot of us then turn to self-medication, over-the-counter stuff, and really that can do more harm than good. I was recently in a workshop session that was talking about over-the-counter medication, primarily in the United States, but they were talking about how, because private healthcare is so inaccessible and publicly funded healthcare in like places like the UK can be so stressful, a lot of people just resort to self-medication, not in the form of taking like opioids, but like paracetamol, ibuprofen. Over-the-counter things. And a lot of us don't read labels. We don't know about dosage. We aren't really paying attention to how this can affect other things. And we want to treat symptoms more than we do actual problems, which is understandable. So I think another thing that you can actually do to advocate for yourself and build up your confidence is really learn about what your body needs and what you're going to put in it. If you are going to take a medication, even if it's been prescribed, do your research as to what it is you're about to put into your body. If you're buying something from the pharmacy because, you know, you want to deal with that headache or that back pain or that nose pain or whatever, read that pamphlet that comes in that box. I know so many of us want to throw it away. It's a waste of time. Okay, the doctor said twice a day, 4 hours, you know, apart. But baby girl, do you know what you're putting in your... Do you even know the name of the drug? I know it's hard to read and it's got about 19 letters in it. No, but if something happens to you and someone asks you, what are you taking? And you can't say amoxicillin, it's going to be a problem. Do you get what I mean? Or you can't say I'm on 5 grams of 2 times a day and I've been taking it for 2 weeks. It's going to be very challenging to know maybe not to give you something or to give you more of something. So I think advocating for yourself also comes from that element of building up your education and your confidence around the knowledge that you have around your healthcare. And I know that that can sometimes be a privileged thing, but that's what allows you to build up confidence. It's what you were even saying about the dilemma, going through the resistance,
100%.
Going through the discomfort of it all. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah. Please, girlies, it's so important to read, and not in like a condescending or derogatory way, this is something that's really, really close to my heart, because my mom was actually one of the people that had unfortunately been a victim of our failings in our healthcare systems. And by God's grace, she's actually here today. But the experience that she had and the dismissal of her pain meant that she spent a night in the morgue. And it makes me so sad to think that there's so many preventable pains that especially women, but particularly Black women, are facing as a result of those failings. And if we can advocate in any way that can help anybody, it's so important to know your body, but also legitimize your pain. Like you feeling this experience just because somebody said, oh, you know, this isn't anything to worry about, doesn't take away from the fact that it impacts your quality of life, that it makes you feel down, that it's actually something that you're experiencing. So I just want to affirm anybody that's actually going through something painful right now, especially women, that you are valid in that experience, and it's something that you have to deal with, and it's hard. Like, it's actually something that is hard. But yeah, and I think the importance of advocacy sometimes comes in being a sister to somebody else. So even, for example, my little sisters or people that are close to me, when they have a hospital appointment, ring, I'm coming too. Because sometimes the power dynamic of being alone in that office with a quote unquote medical expert, a professional that may be an expert in a certain type of knowledge, but not necessarily lived experience, or even in the experience of specific communities. Because especially for Black women, some of the issues that we face, we are more likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer. We are more likely to experience uterine fibroids. We are more likely to experience issues with our reproductive systems. But if you're not a medical professional that's actually been taught that, or that hasn't necessarily been something that, you know, has been exposed by virtue of the way that these institutions work, then of course you're going to be more likely to delegitimize people's pain. So if you can, I would recommend, if you are the person that is going for a checkup or whatnot, go with somebody. Or if you know that your friend or sister or cousin or somebody has got a checkup coming up, you go with them too, and make sure that you're reading up too, because 9 times out of 10, you go to some of these checkups and they'll tell you something that might actually not necessarily register with your experience. So it's even more important that you have somebody to advocate on your behalf, or that you advocate for somebody, because it's through those kind of experiences and through those advocacies that things get done. And how many people's lives could have been changed by having, you know, a sister to be there. And not saying that the responsibility is on you to be with somebody, and it's a shame that these are the failings of our institutions, but lives really can be changed, and diagnoses can happen so much more quickly by somebody actually advocating on your behalf. I was watching something very recently whereby I think it was like 2 television presenters, and they were doing like a commercial or a special on breast cancer awareness and stuff like that. And one of the presenters was like, oh, you should probably like get checked out, because she actually fit the parameters of somebody that should have been like checked out. And she was like, it's not really that deep. And the presenter was like, no, babe, I think you should get checked out, because they were actually doing that as part of the special. They got checked out and they actually found cancerous cells. And to think that if that person, her co-presenter and co-lead, hadn't said, I think actually you should get checked out, she might have gone undiagnosed for such a long time. It just goes to show the power of advocacy, the power of caring, and the power of now. Like, this is actually a present issue, and it's not something that you should wait for. And if it's something that is actually important to you, but important to your community and people around you, then you should really, really prioritize it now.
And that's the power of accountability as well, for real. Like, holding someone accountable to, you said you've had this persistent issue, sis, I'm gonna need you to go to the doctor.
You have to.
Don't just keep telling me about your pain, actually go to the doctor. And this also isn't to really discredit or like villainize healthcare systems. The NHS, like we said, is really stretched, just really stressed at the moment, or wherever you are, there may be some governmental failures and just institutional issues, which mean that your healthcare system often lets you down, especially if you're an ethnic minority in wherever you are. One thing that I'll really say is, and that's to advocate for the medical professionals, they can help you better when they know more. So if you have done that self-advocacy work and you can go there and be like, no, I don't want to take this drug. I've done my research, or I know what's going on with my body. I know what medication I'm already taking, or my medical history. You'll be able to give them a lot of information that can help them get to the bottom of the issue in that moment. That's if they want to listen to you, which a lot of people don't. But sometimes it's not that the medical professional isn't sympathetic. It's that they are working with limited resources, especially time, and a limited team. So the more you can give them, the faster they can get to your solution as well. But if you don't know, they can't help.
And push. If it is to get, the MRI scans, if it is to get the CT scans, if it is to push for a second opinion and you feel that it would benefit you, push for it. You absolutely must push for it. Do not settle.
And know your rights as well, because you can do things like request a second opinion, request for something to be done again, advocate for some kind of medical negligence, like whatever it may be. Speak up. Like really speak up, because you have rights within these things as well.
Literally. #campaign coming. Well, sisters, unfortunately, we have thus come to the end of our conversation. Time has been spent. We hope that you enjoyed this conversation. And again, a special shout out to our sister, Leanne. She is doing incredible work, doing that healthcare advocacy for Black women amongst some incredible women within our community that are also doing really, really great work in supporting women as it pertains to their medical health. One big shout out to the Gynae Project by Candice, doing some fantastic work, educating women on their reproductive system. What is it called? 5X More? Black women's maternal health. So shout out to you, sis, for the work that you are doing around advocating for Black women's maternal health. And we will also leave a list of incredible organizations and communities that you can plug into that are doing the great work of supporting women with their health across the board.
Absolutely. And you know what? Shout out to the NHS. Shout out to the National Health
to the NHS.
Service.
Shout out to the government. Need to fund y'all so much more.
But you are not the enemy. You are a victim, actually. It's a governmental greed.
Hello.
Anyways.
Alas. Sisters, you can stay up to date and be a part of this thriving sisterhood community, this accountability community. And we are growing massively. And we love that. Welcome and shout out to all of the new sisters. We hope that you love it here. And thank you for choosing us. It's a privilege. But you can continue to be a part of all things TMS by following us on social media at To My Sisterhood, literally everywhere. From the professionals over at LinkedIn to the TikTok at To My Sisterhood. And of course, come and follow us individually. My lovely lady, my best friend to the left of me at CD Boateng. And of course, you can follow me over at Renee Kapuku.
We love to see it. And make sure you sign up to the To My Sisters mailing list. We send out weekly love letters straight to your inbox with helpful resources, tips and encouragement for your week. You can sign up on our website, tomysisters.com. It's completely free and accessible, girl. And so hopefully we see you over there. We hope that you have an amazing rest of your week, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. And as always, keep glowing and growing.